when you're looking for potential influencers to work with, or you're looking at what you're going to charge as an influencer, don't just look at your likes and your follows, but look at your reach and impressions, because in reality, they're going to be buying the new eyeballs that are getting on their business. It doesn't really matter if they have 50,000 followers if only, 200 are going to see it.
Hey, my feel good friend. I hope that you're having an awesome week. As always, today I am very excited to share a conversation with one of the very first people that I met when I started my business. Jess is a social media manager out of Portland, Oregon, and we actually met in my first business mentorship that I joined when I decided to become a social media manager. She is so knowledgeable about all the things, and she has super rad style. But today we are talking especially about influencer marketing. Now, influencer marketing is basically the word of mouth marketing of social media. It's personal recommendations, which I love. So if you are interested in upping your marketing game, taking your marketing game to the next level, this is not a conversation that you will want to miss. So let's dive in, shall we?
Hey friend, and welcome to the Feel Good Social Podcast. I'm your host, Kinsey, and I'm here to help you market your business in a genuine way that works without wasting your precious time. On this show, we chat about social media strategy and mindset tips with a focus on, you guessed it, feeling good. So sit back, relax, and enjoy some genuine conversation for the good of your biz. Have you been struggling to hone in on your brand's vibe on social media? I created a free new guide just for you, my friend. I hear it all the time. My photos aren't flowing together, my graphics look weird, my captions all sound different. I get it, and I'm here to help. With this free worksheet, you'll clarify who your brand is on social media. I'll walk you through the steps to figuring out your brand's story, what your brand sounds like, and what your brand looks like, so you can show up consistently with beautiful posts and build your followers' trust. Whether you've been complaining about your grid not being cohesive or your captions all sounding off, this brand vibe worksheet will help. Just head to feelgoodsocial.com/brand vibe to get this free guide. That's feelgoodsocial.com/brandvibe. And you'll be on your way to branding clarity. All right, let's dive into today's episode. Hi, Jess. Thank you so much for coming on the show, lady.
Hey, thank you for having me. I'm excited to be here.
Yes. Okay, so I did already introduce you a little bit in the intro, but I'd love to hear from your own words. What do you do and who do you serve?
For sure. Okay, so my business is called Style Opal, and we are a social media agency, a ladies' first social media agency. We work with purpose-driven brands and entrepreneurs, and I like to say who make the world more beautiful. A lot of times that is beauty, fashion, lifestyle, wellness, sometimes fitness, and a lot of women who want to help other women grow their empires.
Yes.
So that's what we do. It's a mix of content creation, management, and strategy, a lot of social media like you. And then I also have Upper Left Ladies, a community of women and femme entrepreneurs who are based in the Pacific Northwest. So those are my two biz babies.
I love it. I know. I love both of your biz babies. they're like such cool ideas, and you do such a great job running them and everything. I actually don't really know how it all got started. Can you tell us a little bit about the Jess origin story?
Yeah, absolutely. So back in 1992, no. Okay, so
right. So all happened when
I was in college, and it was 2014. It was 2014, and I was going to study fashion in Florence, Italy, and I was required to start a blog, and I was wanting to start a blog for myself because I was starting a street style blog for the university and the magazine I helped start there. So I was excited to start this blog. This was back on Tumblr. I decided to call it Style Opal, and the whole concept was behind my blog at the time was about my travels and how they impact style. And also it's when I started to learn about slow fashion and the different ways that clothing was being produced and manufactured that was, harmful in a lot of ways. So it was kind of like sharing as I learned through that journey. And then also it was kind of blocking them as a way for me to just share my own expression and other people's expression, because in a state college where everybody wore workout clothes all the time, it was really interesting to me to see how people did express themselves. So that it started as fashion. And so that was in 2014. And then I started to, out of school, started to manage social media accounts for a boutique who, threw me into a bunch of little jobs like graphic design, like shipping and receiving, like product descriptions, like everything ever. But the thing that stuck with social media management, we, grew their following pretty quickly. And like really, I had a lot of fun just engaging with their community and having those conversations online. So that kind of snowballed from there. And the interesting thing was I was working in their shoe store, my last full-time job before I became full-time in Style Opal. And I was working at a shoe store and I was taking a course. I was taking an Instagram course, and this woman walked in and she was like, hey, she was a customer and she probably was noticing that I was still writing doing my Instagram course homework, which, I did end up getting fired, which made me became full-time in my business because I was so excited about my business. She was like, are you taking Hillary Rushford's Instagram course? And I was like, yeah. She goes, I'm taking that too. And we just started kicking off a conversation where, it turns out she was like a branding and messaging expert, and she was doing a training down the street. She found out that I do social media consulting, things like this. I was building it. I was doing styling and social media on the side and producing some fashion shows and just kind of like not sure where to take all this. So I always say, Amy, shout out to you. She was like this angel that came into my life, or the shop I was at the time. And we ended up, working together. She's my first business coach. I helped her with her social, and she helped me, package up all these interests and passions I knew I had into services that are now still the backbone of Style Opal. So kind of transitioned into that blog, just kind of sharing what interests me to, it kind of just naturally transitioned to a social media agency, and have a small team and love it. That's the condensed version, but that's
No, I love it. No, okay. So firstly, I've taken Hillary Rushford's Instagram course too. Yeah. that was my first Instagram course too. Like, that's so awesome.
I remember it pretty well. It was like when I had first moved to Portland, and I was taking that because I was like, all right, I know I'm good at social, but I know I got to strengthen it. This girl's killing it. I really vibe with her energy and like the stuff that she's saying out there. Like even do you remember the analogy of like when somebody walks into your house and you give them a glass of champagne, which is kind of like the freebie in your bio? I still refer to that all the time and think about that all the time.
The glass of champagne, man. Yeah, the call to action in your bio for sure. That's all Hillary. I know. Yeah, I can totally see you guys vibing as well. She just had she's like such a fashionista in her own sense, and then also like I just so admire her presence on camera. Like I thought she did such a great job of that, and I don't know. So I've always admired that for sure. Amazing. I love your origin story, girl. And it is so funny how people just like walk into our lives, like just thinking back in your life and being like, wow, if I hadn't met that person or if I hadn't done that thing that day, like it would have taken a different path,
Mm-hmm. Yes, I am the biggest advocate for working with a coach or a mentor, somebody who's, gotten to the next level and the thing you want to. And I know we've worked with the same mentor and coach before. Like we certainly leveled up in our businesses. Like it does wonders, especially if you are, feeling some kind of stuck.
Yeah, definitely. Oh, man. Yeah. So for the listeners, to give you a little backstory, Jess and I both mentored with Stephanie Gilbert. She's amazing. She is the social media CEO. So you took her course and then upgraded to the mentorship, right? At the very end. Mm-hmm. That's what I did.
Yeah. Well, I think I just got it all in one. But we both did both of them. Yeah. I don't know. Now that we're on the topic of like coaching and mentorship and all of those things, like what are some of the biggest things that like mentorship and coaching has helped you with, do you think, in your business? Coaching, hiring a coach and mentorships. And I've hired about like around 3 or 4, like at different times. They all brought something like different to the table. But every time it's been about the blind spots. For sure. It's so easy when you're working, especially like as you're by yourself or as a solopreneur or even with a small team, but remotely, it can be really hard to see the things you can't see. And in the beginning, it was even things like confidence. Like just in the beginning, it was like helping me build confidence in my offerings. And then it was, with Amy, my first coach, it was like, just straight up packaging up your offers and like the business, building the foundation of the business. And like, but then it really became systems, right? Mm-hmm. Systems and honestly, accountability.
Yeah.
The biggest things now,
Totally. Oh man. So I've worked with 2 business coaches and mentors now. You're on your 3rd. Do you have any like tips for choosing a mentor or figuring out like who to work with when or anything like that? I know we're getting a little off topic from what we were expecting.
Let's chat about mentors first. Totally. When choosing one, okay, a couple things. The first one is, like I was saying a second ago, definitely work with somebody. If you have a specific goal in mind, work with somebody who's done what you're trying to do, who has built what you're trying to build. One of the biggest mistakes I feel like I made early on was just listening to everyone and everyone who would give me business advice. And I was kind of always asking friends or even sometimes clients or things. I was just asking too many people what they thought and like what I should do. And, when it comes down to it though, I mean, there's like a select group of people who really like know what you mean, who have done what you're doing or who really have their best interest in mind and aren't just going to give you, yes, you're doing great, amazing all the time. Even some of your closest friends might respond like that, which is great when you need like a pick me up or reminder how badass you are. But I would say definitely work with somebody who has done what you're trying to do. And then be like, make sure you get on a call and really just feel out the energy between you and see how do they make you feel on that first call. I have a friend who was just shopping between 2 different coaches, and her goal is to not even just increase her revenue, but just to get her systems more down and to get more organized so she can just relax and like maybe even work less and like just, hire out more and just kind of feel more like a CEO in her business. Right. And one of them made her feel really relaxed and just asked her questions and just really got big picture and dreamy, but she felt really relaxed with her. The next woman it seemed like she was reading from the scripts first of all, but she was kind of just like talking to her and like, or at her a bit and kind of was just like listing off all the things that she thought she needed and that like, she might not see success if she doesn't do X, Y, Z. And that kind of made her feel a little fearful. And, just like she could tell right away, like the energy match was not there in that one. But the first one, just paying attention to, like how you feel in their presence. Like, do they make you like vibe up and you're like, yeah, I can do anything. Like, like everything's going to be fine. Or is it kind of like, yeah. Or is there a sense of like fear and urgency that could be playing into? Does that make sense?
Yeah, no, totally, girl. Because I hired kind of like a mindset coach as well. And we've been working on like intuition stuff a lot. And this is like totally it. Just like checking in with yourself. Like, how am I feeling right now? And also checking in with like that gut kind of response, that you do feel, but only if you take a second to pause and check in and all the things. No, I love that. I know for sure. I'm so glad. I honestly think that investing in like a coach and a mentor is one of the best things you could do, like for just all the things. And honestly, I don't know if this has been your experience, but for most of the coaching, it's been mindset for me, just like pay someone to kind of like affirm your decisions or exactly like you were saying too, bring you back to reality if maybe you're getting too far sucked in or something like that.
I could see how a mindset coach would be awesome.
Yeah, no, very helpful. Very helpful, especially going through that launch that I just went through.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I mean, anytime you're coming up with a high ticket offering and just any offering, but especially a high ticket offering or a course, a new thing, like your mindset going when you're creating it and when you launch it and when you're talking about it, like impacts the whole flow of your business, right?
Hell yeah.
I could talk about mindset and intuition forever.
I know. Okay. Let's get to that in a little bit. But first, Let's talk about influencer marketing, lady, because this is something that I kind of learned more about through Stephanie's program that we both took and all that stuff. And I love the idea of influencer marketing now that like I know more about it. And so, yeah, let's talk about it because you offer this in your business, right?
Yes. Yeah. We offer mostly micro influencer marketing.
Yeah.
And I love the world of influencer marketing. I think because, again, it comes down to like, I love the part of social media that is like, I don't know, the interactive, the community-based part, the part where the trust is there and is still there. And like, it comes down to relationships. So yeah. And with influencer marketing, I don't know if I had told you this before. This was so many of the things that impacted my business were happening around that same time. I think this was like 2014 as well. It was around the same time I started Style Opal. I started interning for a company called Four. It was originally called Four Card, and now it's called Four. Like, if y'all have heard the podcast, A Drink with James, they're like, I think one of the biggest influencer marketing agencies now. But yeah, it was fascinating to like see. It's been fascinating to see, that in that point in time, when people were like, "Oh, are you familiar with the word influencer? Like, have you heard of an influencer?" And I was like, "Yeah," because I'm a, millennial, like senior in college. Of course I did, but that was when you still were asking that question, So yeah, and as far as influencer marketing, yeah, it's something we offer for clients, whether it's seeding it, everything from coming up with a campaign to finding the right influencers for the campaign to executing, following through, developing those long-term relationships on behalf of the brand.
Yeah. Oh man. Okay. I love that you brought up, because influencer marketing is pretty new. I always laugh because like my computer still puts a little red squiggly line under the word influencer whenever I type it out. Like, it's not considered like a real word for my Google, at least. But for those listening who don't really know what influencer marketing is, can you give us like a little bit of an overview of, how it started, and then maybe a few of the different tiers it's kind of branched into now?
Yeah. I'm not sure how to describe where it started, because it seems like it has always been around, but in a different way. Like, an influencer is a person with a dedicated and loyal and trusting following or community, right? Who trusts, who likes and knows and trusts the person, and who is willing to hop on board with opinions or products or services that they may talk about and promote, right? In really simple terms. But it used to be all about the celebrity. Like, we all know what the like impact of the celebrities, and then way back when, probably like kings and queens, whoever, kind of had the audience or people who were looking to them for the advice. But in terms of the question was, where did it start and what is influencer marketing, right?
Yeah. So I guess like now we know like who are influencers, kind of like everyone could be an influencer pretty much. Like, everyone has an audience, but how do we translate that into marketing now, I guess, on social media?
Yeah. So everybody does have some certain level of influence, for sure. But I mean, influencer marketing is essentially the new word of mouth marketing. It's, a brand has a product or service they want to share out there with their, ideal market, and then working with an aligned person, blogger, influencer, mom, what have you, who has a similar market as them, and essentially will use influencer marketing, which is basically word of mouth marketing on social media, to share it with their audience. And I really, when it comes down to it, it's getting more eyeballs on their business, on the brand. And that's essentially what they're paying for, is like access to a whole new audience of people who aren't just like getting an ad off the internet, and aren't just being like advertised to like from the brand itself, but they're hearing it from somebody they already like and trust. It's like as if, you and I were to be having a conversation, and I was like, we're both drinking coffee right now, I think. And I was like, this brand of coffee is awesome. You have to try it next time you're at your store. And the difference between that and like the TV telling you that, like, who are you more likely to listen to, right? And then the reason why it's been so successful, it's just boomed. I want to say it's like $1 billion industry right now, because it costs so much less than traditional marketing. An average lead, this is from influence.com, but I've heard this stat over and over. An average lead generated by a traditional marketing campaign costs around $370. But on the other hand, influencer marketing generates 11 times better ROI as compared to really all the other digital marketing channels. So really, it's a really inexpensive way for a brand to have somebody shouting from the rooftops to get their brand in front of people who are likely to buy or engage or to hit the follow button and to hop on with whatever it is they are offering or talking about.
Yeah. Yeah. I love that influencer marketing is like all about the relationships, right? It's exactly what you said. It's like, I can see a commercial for coffee like just go over my head. But if you tell me that a certain brand is the most delicious coffee you've ever had, I'm going to go get that tomorrow, And so that's like why the ROI is so great. I love it. Do you think that like there are certain types of brands that should work with influencers, or do you think that influencer marketing can be used like by any brand?
I think there's a way for every brand to use it. It'll just look a lot different. So like I have clients, for example, who have let's say like you're selling like a keychain accessory or like a facial cream or something that is at a lower price point, maybe has like decent profit margins, or basically it doesn't cost the brand that much to gift, one of these items. Basically, I work with folks all the way from that to somebody selling like $1,000 course, right? So it'll look so much different. But there is a way I think every business should use it in some way or the other. And I think that it's one of the easiest, most cost-effective ways to grow your audience online too. It'll just look different. Like if you have that like keychain accessory I was just talking about, you probably would do a campaign where you create the campaign around whatever it is that you want to create and with whatever goals you have in mind for your business already. And, sending it out to like 100 influencers is a lot easier than, with a higher ticket item. So, in that sense, you'd be sending it out to a lot more people. Whereas with the course, maybe it'd be affiliate marketing, which is still a term of influencer marketing, but you would have people, instead of like, the traditional 1 post and 3 stories, maybe you would have them sending out emails to their audience as well, and a couple posts and, with the link to track back to the sales. Any campaign could have that. But I guess what I'm saying is, there's a way for influencer marketing to work for any business. And it's also good to think about your own best customers and people in your community and think about them as potential influencers too. And one of the easiest places to start is looking at those who's already in your community, who has a level of influence, and working with them first.
Sorry, my water alarm just went off. I have a drink water alarm like every 2 hours. Nice. I've been ignoring it, which I need to like get back on.
I should do that.
I know. Yeah, well, I have and I've stopped. I need to like start doing it again. But for those, I guess, who are kind of new to all of this and they're wondering like what even does influencer marketing look like? Can you maybe give us a few tips for those who might want to like start dabbling in influencer marketing, or maybe tell us like what an influencer brand relationship looks like, kind of thing?
Yeah. So if someone were to come to us and say, we want to create an influencer marketing campaign for, let's say, a handbag campaign. We worked with an awesome local, I'm here in Portland, woman-owned handbag company called Marche, and they're beautifully organized, well-made leather handbags, and they work with a manufacturer down in Corvallis. Like it's very well done, and she wants to reach women who are honestly in their probably mid to late 20s all the way to like 50, so like pretty broad. But we basically, if they come to us and say we want to get an influencer marketing campaign to get the word out about this new style of handbag, so we're working with them. It does help if we're already working with the clients for social media management or for strategy prior, but it can be done, one-off as well, or a la carte as well, I guess just to say. So for these guys, essentially first we'll like get on a call and discuss like, where are you at with your business and your goals, and like what is your goal for influencer marketing? For them, it's to raise awareness of their company. They were a fairly new company and they wanted to let people know that they have this great new crossbody bag that is great for a woman who's on the go, and it can actually fit your laptop in it, and just helps women stay more organized, right? Like we have a kind of a deeper dive conversation on like what's your goal. Like, yeah, they want to spread the word and obviously sell these handbags, and then get pretty nitty gritty on who it is for and builds that kind of persona. If we're not already working together in social media management, where we'd already kind of create that persona so you can know exactly who you're talking to and what kind of influencers we're looking for, then we would start to develop a list of influencers. And we have kind of a roster of influencers that we have relationships with that we've worked with before. And then also we oftentimes find new influencers depending on where we're targeting. So for this campaign, that I'm going to refer to, we're working with bloggers in Portland, here in Portland, because we thought we would tackle like kind of, we'll do Portland and then we'll do like Chicago, like different cities that might have like commuting, working women or professional moms or people within kind of that sphere who want quality over quantity, want a bag to last them a few years and can fit all their things, keep it organized with no black hole, essentially. So we created a campaign. We create the campaign from there, which the campaign we came up with was like in January, and it was all about organization, kind of like providing some guidelines, kind of like some pillars that the campaign will come back to. It's one thing for an influencer to just post and be like, oh, here's my new top or bag. Isn't it cute? Go check out, this brand. But that doesn't really work as well anymore. Like it, as you know, with social, it needs to be storytelling. So we develop, a campaign deck that describes, who the brand is, who in our case, oftentimes who's the woman behind the brand. Here are our values, every time sharing your values, because that's when the influencer will be able to really check themselves on if it's a fit or not, which hopefully everybody's doing. And then, saying having the parts in the campaign that are the speaking points that you like included. So like for this one, including bits about organization and like that the bags are made locally in Corvallis and all these points that their audience will be able to recognize and be like, oh yeah, that makes sense. I can see myself with that. Like that seems like a really easy solution or that seems like a great solution to this bag that has a huge black hole in it, for example, right? Losing my keys all the time. So just one example anyway. So then, we'll start to do outreach with the influencers and see if they're interested, send them the deck, and then essentially ideally have them at least 10 influencers at a time is what I would recommend. Have them all post within like a week or so time period. And we would, keep in communication with them, see that they posted, and of course, keep it in an authentic way to themselves, talking about how the product or service fits in their lives, in a real way. And then, collect the analytics and report those to the brand, and then essentially keep note of the campaigns that went really well. So like the ones that got the most engagement, highest reach and impressions, and like the ones who were getting a lot of DMs about the product, right? People forget about the DMs piece of the engagement. And then, if they want to do another campaign, kind of take that info to strengthen and build the influencer program from there for the next product launch or for the next round with the same product, for example.
Yeah. Oh man, I know. I love this process. And just so you know, most of my listeners are like just those hardworking, do it yourself, pull up by your bootstraps kind of thing. So they're probably going to be wondering, how can I use this for my brand? So I guess like when it comes to just kind of a step-by-step, easy to follow process for this, it'd just be like, you want to maybe work with influencers to promote like a specific product, right? For like a specific campaign. Then maybe, outline your goals and your strategies and your own brand's values. Create kind of like an info packet for the influencers you want to work with. Then finding influencers. Let's talk about that a little bit more. Can you explain what the difference is between like a regular influencer, a micro influencer, maybe even like a nano influencer? I love the new name. It reminds me of like the nano iPod or something. You know what I mean?
iPod Nano. I miss that That's so nostalgic. I love that. I've had Nano. I definitely had one of those for a while.
Right? I know. The Nano influencer Nano edition.
Yeah, exactly. There's got to be some weird campaign there, totally. So yeah, as far as like the influencer ranks, so to speak, the first level is the nano influencer. So somebody with between 1,000 and even 10,000 followers. That's kind of what they say is like industry standard. But I might even consider 10,000 to be a micro influencer. But if you're talking to somebody like somebody who works with these bigger influencers, definitely most people would say nanos 1 to 10,000. Then micro influencer is 10 to 50K. And then mid tier is like 50K to 500K. Macro would be 500K to a million. And then mega is like a million plus. So that's a little bit more in depth, but we work mostly with nano and micro influencers right now, some mid-tier influencers too, but I love working with micro influencers. We'll just generalize that group into micro influencers to make it easy right now. Yes, I love working with those kinds of influencers because they tend to have a stronger, more loyal following, and with people who, they haven't blown up so much where they can't handle all their DMs and comments. And, like sometimes as the following increases, the engagement tends to decrease. So people with nano or micro followings do tend to get a lot of comments, a lot of DMs. Like they're usually really actively engaged with their community, and they're usually pretty niche as well. So it tends to work well for, kind of on the awareness side, and even honestly conversion side sometimes, depending on your product. And then I will say also, as far as conversion, that depends on that will really be impacted by a few things, but including the price point. So like I will say, because I know a lot of times I think brands think that influencer marketing is something that works right away, like they'll see a bunch of sales right away. And maybe, especially if you have a lower ticket item, but a lot of the times you're getting new people introduced to your brand who are then going to follow you or keep you in mind, and then see your posts, roll out, start to like, and trust you, and then eventually buy it from you. If not, then and there. Sometimes the campaign is around a special promotion or sale, or, if there's urgency there, they're more likely to buy on the spot, of course. But that's definitely worth noting.
Yeah, no, I know. I think we were talking about that before too. Like everything on social media, it's really hard to track like the real like ROI, you know what I mean? Because so much of it is kind of indirect and like not very trackable, but it really does work, and it all builds upon each other, and it really is kind of the end game for sure. Yeah, I feel like when it comes to my audience, they'll definitely want to be focusing on that micro to nano influencer level. Can you talk to us a little bit about maybe the difference in like maybe talk to us a little bit about how you pay influencers, and then the difference between like the tiers and stuff like that?
Definitely. Yeah, there's a couple different ways to do it. You could either we do a lot of in-kind campaigns where you're essentially gifting the influencer the product, and that might have a simpler deck. It might not, but you gift them the product and let them know the same things you would, and just say, try it. And if you like it, post about it. A lot of influencers appreciate just that the company genuinely only wants them to post about it if they like it, which should always really be the case. Or just really when you're posting about it, if you are required to post about it, saying your honest opinion. But yeah, there's in-kind gifting, and then paying influencers can be kind of across the board. I can speak to, like, personally, I would, on my own page, fall under the nano. I do some work on the nano influencer side. I have like around just like 4,000 followers. So, and it's mostly people, like a lot of people I know too, right? But for my rates, like it could be honestly anywhere from like, I do some in kind. I do some, trade posts still. And then some of the posts are like $50 to $100. So that it depends on like the influencer, how big is their audience, how much engagement are they getting, and maybe a brand has, they're gonna work with like 50 influencers and give them each $50 and a bracelet or whatever that is. It really just depends. But as you do get up through the tiers, especially with once you get past the micro influencers, and I would say even at 10,000 and up, you should pretty much depend on, for the most part, paying your influencers. It really depends on the quality of your product though too, because with the company I was talking about earlier, some of their bags are $500, and that's still really valuable to somebody who has quite a big following. They may or may not buy it for themselves, otherwise, but hopefully they would if it's an online campaign, I will say. But yeah, you're basically, as far as paying influencers goes, it will definitely, I think it's pretty in line with the tiers, with the influencer tiers. As you go up, the rates will tend to go up. Because influencers charge everywhere from like $100 to like, a few $1,000s, like, or $500. Yeah. It really depends.
It's kind of the wild, wild west a little bit when it comes to pricing.
It is. Yeah, it is. And there are some kind of calculators out there that have to do with, I think it's like your following, your engagement, and I don't know if they count your impressions. But I will say, if anyone leaves with one thing from this, I want to say, when you're looking for potential influencers to work with, or you're looking at what you're going to charge as an influencer, don't just look at your likes and your follows, but look at your reach and impressions, because in reality, they're going to be buying the new eyeballs that are getting on their business. It doesn't really matter if they have 50,000 followers, if only, 200 are going to see it. But sometimes somebody has 4,000 followers and they'll get 2,000 people looking at their posts, right? So definitely, if you are able to vet that and get access to their analytics in that way, a lot of influencers will have their media kit and will give you that information, or you can ask for it. And if you do sign up as an influencer on fohr.com, it's fohr.com. Not sponsored, but I love them to death.
Awesome. I love it.
That's free. You can get a free kind of media kit from them. But yeah, definitely don't ignore reach and impressions. And that's going to be huge for brands' ROI as well.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, I think that when it comes to most of my listeners, they'll be looking for that in-kind kind of relationship if they do decide to work with influencers. And honestly, I think that it's better. Like, that's kind of why I'm so in love with the idea of micro-influencer marketing, because it's kind of like when you can work with the smaller following people, the smaller influencers, you don't have to pay them as much. And they most likely have like a better, more trusting relationship with their audience. So you probably will see that bigger return on investment. And it's like putting out like personal recommendations for your brand are so much better than like any kind of like even review sites, I think. You know what I mean? It's like, if you can have other people sharing like how much they love this product in their own words with their audiences, like I just think that is such a great way to boost your brand awareness and see that direct conversions and making more sales and stuff like that.
Definitely. Yeah. I mean, I do a little bit of work on the nano influencer end, and like I will get people DMing me that they bought the thing, because I feel like friends with these people, and I am with a lot of them too. And yeah, I think when people do have, hundreds of thousands of followers, sometimes, it's interesting. Unless they're following that person for a while, they might not have that sense of trust right away, or they're like, oh, is this a celebrity? Are they just gonna? I don't know. There are a lot of opinions out there, but yeah, I'm with you. I like the in kind doing campaigns that well too for our clients. It's good, and it helps keep it niche for now. Yeah. Also, they just tend to be really enthusiastic about the brands and like the campaigns. They really care, and they, will likely like buy your product again too, and like share it down the road. And another piece of ROI that brands using influencer marketing too is UGC, that user generated content. So if you have in your contract or in your deck that the images they use, you can use in your social media, that's amazing, because, work with 10 influencers and get 10 new images, or have a photo shoot, with 10 new images, like which one's going to cost more, really?
Right? I know, in the whole scheme of things, I'm so glad you brought that up, because most people can take great photos with an iPhone these days. And so it really is, instead of it's almost like equaling out, I guess. You know what I mean? Like instead of paying a photographer to take all of these product photos, you can market your product and then also gain photos from that marketing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so I do definitely recommend too, as you're building your deck too, like give an example of the kinds of imagery you do or don't want. Like if you know that you don't want someone posting phone selfie, a mirror selfies with your product, and you just know you don't want that, then clearly state it, because really you're working with the person probably because you like the content they're already creating, and there definitely needs to be, especially with in-kind campaigns, the influencer should have lots of space to create how they want to create and how vibes with their style and with their community. But it's good to say, these are the kinds of images we're looking for, but we don't like this, like say for a lot of times for our clients, it's like, we love to see you interacting with the product, in a lifestyle way, like having you and the product is like the best, usually yields the best results. As you know, with any image with human elements does like double, just performs usually like around double or like a lot better than if it didn't anyway. So encouraging that, just any any guidelines you can give as far as what you do or don't want for photo and caption is helpful. Even just a couple bullet points, nothing too overwhelming, but make those clear, as well as any hashtags, who to post. If I was kind of going down the line, there'd be like, ask that it's in their feed for like 180 days. These are all things you might want to include in the contract as well. And then also, typically you would ask for a feed post and 3 stories is like what we typically do. If you can get 2 feed posts, that's awesome. With in-kind, usually it's pretty simple. And then let's see, was there anything else? Oh, and if there's a link in bio to keep in their link for 24, 48 hours, that's really awesome. If they have a swipe up, encouraging them to use that. But things like that, just think about what would make it, if you're planning it yourself or if you're working with someone to create the campaign, think about what are your goals for the campaign and what are the things you would want in a successful post about your product or service, because the influencers don't know unless you tell. Like, how can they know unless you tell them? They know what other brands expect or what they think will do well, but be clear with your expectations without, squashing their room for creativity and storytelling, because it needs to be a real authentic story at the end of the day.
Yes. Yeah, for sure. It's kind of like finding that fine line between giving them the do's, the don'ts, the guidelines, but also like allowing them, because influencers are like generally very creative people. Like the reason that they're using Instagram and the reason that they're on there is because they love to create content and people love the content that they create. So it's important for that trust factor for sure. Can you talk to us a little bit? So we have found some influencers, we've given them the guidelines, we've sent them the products. Do you ever have issues with people not following through, or how do you handle like that kind of situation sometimes?
Yeah, that's a good question, because when it comes down to it, if you're gifting somebody if you're doing just an in-kind campaign where you're gifting somebody a product for exchange for posts, like you can't at the end of the day, like make them post. Like there is the chance, there is like the small risk of somebody, not posting, or, if we're asking them to post within the 2 weeks that they receive the product usually, or maybe longer if you're working with bigger influencers, there is the chance that, something comes up in their life or the coronavirus hits, and some of our campaigns, like, the post dates are just pushed back, and that happens. But I would say this is why it's good to have guidelines and expectations. I know that as a creative myself, like I work well with deadlines, so knowing, not only is here's what we would love, but like here's the campaign posting date window, we'd love to see your post within this date. Is that feasible for you? Can you make that happen? If they say great, awesome, and have that in the contract as well. Nobody's going to go to court over, likely somebody not posting, but just having that set up kind of gives you some peace of mind and just helps hold both sides accountable. But yeah, definitely there is sometimes a good bit of follow up and making sure, seeing if we make sure, see if they have questions about the content or if they have any questions about the product, we can hop on a call if they need to. But I think really it's like, yeah, getting the date set up when they plan on posting too. Like even if here's the post window, if you're going to be posting within the window on a certain day, can you let us know like what day to expect it so we can keep our eyes on it, and also collect the UGC, like capture the stories they get, and if we're managing the account, to repost it from the client's account.
Yeah, that's a great technique. Like coming at them and being like, hey, so what day are you thinking of posting? You know, we just want to be prepared to capture it. Kind of giving them a little gentle nudge. I love it. Yeah, this is so interesting. What do you think about, I feel like, I can't remember if we kind of learned a little bit about this in Steph's course or if it just like came into my mind, but sometimes I like to create kind of like influencer programs for brands like in tiers, just to kind of make sure that you're not giving someone a $500 handbag who's going to ghost on you immediately. So maybe like offering a smaller product first, testing the waters to see if the influencer is reliable or not. And then maybe, you know, bringing them up a level and then maybe bringing them up another level and then they get the $500 burst. Do you ever do that in your business?
Yes. Yes. So we basically the starting influencer seeding services, like so you usually start with like 10 influencers, and a lot of people like to start out with that to kind of test it. I will say, like, the more people you have posting about the product, like the more you're multiplying the reach and the the impact it can make. But right now what we've been doing is starting at 10 and then working your way up to like 25 influencers or 50 influencers. These are like seedings a month. So this is how many influencers are sent a product a month. But as far as different tiers, yes, we've done that too. So with that handbag client, for example, although we did have, a campaign that was speaking to, you might have a campaign speaking to a specific product launch we did an influencer campaign for them on Black Friday, Cyber Monday. And we did work with influencers all the way from, a few with 4,000 really engaged followers to all the way to like 50,000 followers. And, their products, the handbag company's lowest price product was like 125 or something. It was like a clutch you could fit your laptop in. And then they kind of have like 4 or 5 products, and it goes to like a crossbody, and then it goes to like a giant clutch, then it goes to like a beautiful everyday tote that's a lot larger, that's like the $500 one that fits your laptop in it as well, but also your purse and your cards and your papers and everything. So yeah, we definitely did like match up the influencers on the lower end with the product that is probably a little bit lower on the price point. But even then we did have them kind of just pick their favorite style, but we kind of had the options narrowed down for them according to kind of where they fell in that spectrum.
Yeah. Oh man, there's so many things to know about influencer marketing, and we could go so deep into this.
Yeah, I know.
I know. Guys, go hit Jess up if you want some help with influencer marketing, because she will do all of this for you if we've lost you at any time.
I'd love to. Yeah, you can go pretty nitty-gritty sometimes.
Oh yeah, for sure. There's just a lot of things to think about, and it can be a little bit overwhelming. But I guess if you had to give like someone who's just starting out in influencer marketing for their brand and stuff, any advice, like what are kind of the just simplest steps that they can take to get started?
To get started on influencer marketing, I would start with that turning your own followers into micro influencers bit. So taking a look at your own following and who are the people who are they don't even always have to be the ones with the highest following, but who are the ones who are like always showing up, always rooting for you, always, just pull out a Google spreadsheet and make a list of the people who are following you, who are like your highest engaged followers, those guys who are just like all about it, shouting your name at the rooftops, add them on there. And then look at the people who are in your community or members of your service or your customers who do have higher followings too. And you can even just create a campaign with that. So say you're a yoga studio, we work with some yoga studios, and say, hey, like, it's been awesome having you in our community, and we're about to really go hard with our live online classes and launch our virtual workout portal or something like that, or we're going to offer this new thing. And so, yeah, just let that list know, like in an email, or even just DM them and be like, we'll give you 5 free classes. Would you mind giving us a shout out on your feed and in stories? Just starting with that and seeing what comes of that. That would be my first tip. And then tip number 2, no matter what you're doing with influencer marketing, don't just like send it and leave it, but do follow up, do get the analytics, and do kind of like on your own end, just kind of track and take note of which of these influencers were successful and which would I work with again. Like, did they get a lot of comments on their posts? Did they say they get a lot of DMs? Are they posting on their stories about you, like, 5 times, even though they said they'd only do 2? Like, are the images really good? So taking note, in that spreadsheet, maybe like on the results and kind of like if they're on maybe you have like A, B, and C, like levels of like, yeah, I'd love to work with this influencer again. Second one being like, maybe. And third one, like, yeah, I probably wouldn't again, So as Steph says, and like, as I think we both probably say, like, it is good to like start wide and then go deep. So start with, multiple influencers within the lower ranks, and then kind of test it from there, go deeper with people who have bigger followings from there. But don't be afraid to just reach out to. You never know like who's going to love your product or service, even if they have. I know some people get really intimidated by folks with like people in the 50, 100K followings, but you never know. It's always worth an ask, and they might end up loving what you have to offer and love to spread the word.
Yeah, for sure. And I'm so glad that you brought up the analytics part too, because I feel like that is something that a lot of people who are new to social media marketing in general, like, overlook. You know what I mean? That's such a big part of social media marketing and influencer marketing, is to test the waters and then do more of what's working, and it's the same with the influencers. I'm so glad that you brought that up, lady. Okay, Jess, well, thank you so much for joining us, lady. Can you tell all of my following and my lovely listeners where they can find you so that they can connect with you?
Yeah, thank you for having me. This has been so fun. But yeah, so you can find me on Instagram. My personal is my name. It's Jyssica Yelas, JYSSICAYELAS, or just go to my business account, The Style Opal, like the stone, styleopal.com. And that's my jam.
I love it. And we will definitely link all of those in the show notes so people can find you super easily. Thank you so much for joining us, lady. It was so fun to talk to you.
Thank you. It's fun to talk to you too. Cheers.
How awesome is Jess, you guys? I absolutely loved chatting with this lady. She is so awesome, and I hope that you give her a follow on Instagram. If you enjoyed this episode, please share it to your Instagram stories. I would absolutely love to catch you on there. Make sure you tag both me and Jess at Feel Good Social and at The Style Opal, because we would love to reshare it and say a big thanks. I hope that you have a wonderful week, my friend, and I will catch you next Thursday.
Thanks so much for listening, my friend. For show notes and a whole lot of other awesome freebies, visit feelgoodsocial.com. Simply go to feelgoodsocial.com for all the goods.